It is the end of January. For the first time in nearly 2 years, the Washington, D.C. metro area has more than an inch of snow accumulation on the ground. So there's white, fluffy stuff out there. Uh, Quarantiki number 42, the answer to life, the universe, and everything, needed something fluffy and nice for this week. So what are we going to do? We're going to do the Ramos Gin Fizz. We're going to talk about a cocktail that has been around since the late 1800s, that is the bane of bartenders everywhere, and has connections to things like child labor laws. So, let's saddle on up to the bar and talk some Ramos Gin Fizz. Before we do that, of course, there has to be toasting done. This is a local-ish distiller of quite considerable renown, actually. This is Maggie's Farm. This is Maggie's Farm rum out of Pittsburgh. We have not had a chance yet to get up to Pittsburgh. We were planning on doing that actually last year, and then
Yeah.
that so didn't happen. This comes in at 40% alcohol, so 80 proof. So this is low end, but still legally to be called rum.
Yeah.
It's also made with U.S. sugarcane. So I think mostly sugarcane from Louisiana.
Huh?
So makes a natural tie-in to the Ramos Gin
Yes,
Fizz,
it
which
does.
has its origins in New Orleans. So we're going to pour a little bit in here,
We've got Ruth.
a little bit in there. So there's a, hey, Ruth. So there's another connection to New Orleans for the toasting.
Oh, there is.
So we are toasting somebody that has been quite an influence on my cocktailing. We've mentioned him in the past, Mr. Zachary Faden, formerly of a half a dozen places
Rogue
that we have.
24,
The
the
Palms,
Palms
upstairs at Magnolias, Convivial,
Convivial,
the one did
Mirabelle's,
Mirabelle,
and then Liberté.
Liberté in Georgetown.
Yeah.
And what we are toasting to Zach is the fact that Zach has taken up a position with the Museum of Distilled Spirits. He is their
Director of Spirits, which is the all unclassified spirits, basically.
Right. So, like, he did a class the other day on Genevieve, and he's got another one coming up on absinthe. Right, Zoom classes, very informative. Zach is, I guess, in his own words, has found the perfect job he didn't even know existed. So
may we all have that happen in our life. That's just a wonderful thing.
I think so. Yeah. So here's to Zach.
And to the museum.
And to the museum, and to Maggie's Farm, which by all accounts is putting out really incomparably good stuff. So solid white rum.
Yeah, solid white rum.
There's not a great deal of nose off of this, as opposed to the other white rums which I've been sniffing lately, which are like all Jamaican whites and overproofs, and it's like, nose burn!
Yeah.
Right. No.
Yeah, the Haitian we had the other night.
Right. Yes. Providence Haitian, which comes in at 57% or something like that. That was pretty hot, and we had some Dr. Bird Jamaican, which is not a white rum, but and it is really interesting because it has the same kind of heat you expect from a higher proof rum, but it's in a different place on the tongue. It's not like you get hit by this alcohol heat and then it fades to flavor.
We've got Colleen.
It's like there's flavor and then there's this mid-palate hit of heat and then there's flavor at the back.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. I'm looking forward to working with that. I should drink this. So toast. Yay, Zach.
Yay.
Oh, that's quite lovely.
Yeah.
That is
solid,
white, straightforward. There's nothing complex going on in this particular rum. Certainly, if you are looking for a rum to replace, say, your Bacardi Superior on your shelf, and you want something that is going to be clean and neat and still a rum and will be perfectly great as a mixer, yeah, the Maggie's Farm White seems really tasty. So really nice. So let's do that. Last week I talked some about ice. These cubes of ice that I had cut up from this large chunk, but I didn't have a large chunk to show you the large chunk that I started with. So you may remember those cubes about yay big that I was playing with, and I had some taller pieces, and they were all relatively clear. but not totally clear. So this is my Ice Made Clear insulator. And there is a piece that sits in here that separates out ice cubes, drill holes through the drip holes through this, through the mold. And so the impurities and everything else, because it freezes directionally, it freezes from the top, the cubes freeze solid, all the impurities go into the massive block down here and leaves you with pure clear cubes. But you are also left with this massive block of ice here, which is going to come out any minute. There we go. And this is the thing that I've been using for punches. I just drop this, maybe knock off this piece and then use it for punches and that sort of thing. Just drop it in there. Big solid block of ice. As it turns out, you can sculpt this ice pretty easily with just doing some scoring with a knife. That's what I did last week in order to get some really sizable and pretty chunks out of this. What I'm going to do now, rather than spend all of my time playing around with an ice block, is I'm just going to throw it in a plastic bag, and I will send this into the freezer in the back room. The highlight of tonight's show is the Ramos Gin Fizz. 1888, a guy by the name of Henry Charles Ramos was bartending at the Imperial Cabinet. Now, the Imperial Cabinet Saloon is on the corner of, or was on the corner of Carondelet and Gravière, which is right on the edge of the French Quarter in New Orleans. So he essentially took a gin sour. So typical sour, right, is your spirit and some citrus, sugar of some sort. Mix that together, lengthened it with seltzer water or something else along those lines. So you have sort of a gin Collins. But his big thing was, wait, I want to get some fizziness and some texture and some creaminess out of this. So usually you would do that by, say, cracking an egg and using an egg white in that. You get a nice foam. Or instead of doing that, you could add some cream to it, and then you would get a nice creamy texture to it. Or what you could do is combine both. And that's what he did, and he created the Ramos Gin Fizz. He became immensely famous, and the drink became immensely famous. He was a really nice guy when it comes to cocktails and cocktail history, because he actually, unlike most of our tiki guys that took the recipes to their deathbed and didn't tell anybody how they made these cocktails, and we've just had to recreate them from little tidbits here and there, he was really nice, and he told everybody how he made his Ramos Gin Fizz. So back in the day, instead of using syrup, they would use sugar. They just use really, really fine grind sugar. So the recipe was a tablespoon of sugar, 3 to 4 drops or dashes of orange flower water, orange blossom water, a half ounce of lime juice, a half ounce of lemon juice. So here we're splitting the citrus amongst the two. 1 1/4 ounces of an Old Tom gin. So this is a sweet gin, as opposed to like a London dry gin. Now, if you ordered the Ramos Gin Fizz today, almost assuredly it is going to be made with dry gin, because that is what 95% of the bars have, and 95% of the gins that those bars have are going to be London dry style. So Bombay Sapphire, Tanqueray, Beefeater, those sorts of things are all going to be your sort of in the London dry category. We're not going to use that, though. We're going to go back to the original recipe, and we're use an Old Tom gin, which is going to be much sweeter. Whole egg white, 2 tablespoons of cream, a half a glass of crushed ice, and then about an ounce of seltzer. And all of that got thrown into a shaker and shaken, 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 and shaken and shaken and shaken. So the apocryphal story is at his bar, he hired children to stand in the back, and he would start the shaking on this cocktail, and he would hand the shaker to the first child, and you'd have like 20 or 12 children lined up behind him. And when one child would get tired, he'd hand the shaker to the other child, and the other child would shake. He'd hand it to the next one, and so on and so on and so on down the line for 12 minutes. So you've seen me shaking cocktails. I go up here, shake, 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 shake. I'm done, right? Not 12 minutes worth of shaking. By the way, we're not going to do 12 minutes worth of shaking. Trust me, I know what that would look like on film. You don't want to see it, so we're not going to do that. We're going to take shortcuts. But that's the story. One of the other stories was that what he would do to involve his patrons, because, well, everybody wanted their Ramos Gin Fizz, and it was going to take a while to make these, was that he would start the shaking and then he would hand it to one of the patrons. And that patron would shake it and hand it to the next patron, and so on and so forth around the bar. And when it finally got back to him, he would then pour it. He'd pour it in a glass, add a little more seltzer to top it off, take a stir stick, and stir it up so it would fizz and foam and fall all over the glass and that sort of thing. And then he would hand it off, and there would be the Ramos Gin Fizz. I happen to have the pleasure of having my very first Ramos Gin Fizz at the Carousel Bar, also in the French Quarter in New Orleans. I have been trying for part of yesterday and today to make a Ramos Gin Fizz that rivals that one. I haven't been successful, but, try and try again, right? So what I am going to do is try and give you some of the benefit of what I have learned about making the Ramos Gin Fizz. First thing I've learned, nobody does the Ramos Gin Fizz the same way. Everybody has their own particular style of how they want to do that. You'll note that when describing Ramos's own version, he put all the ingredients in a shaker. That includes the seltzer water or the soda water. We've been through this before. If you put soda water in a shaker, the carbonation causes bubbles and causes gas to expand, which means you really have to hold that shaker tight. I really don't want to try shaking that for multiple minutes while holding it tight, nor would I want to be on the receiving end of that if I was a small child, as someone has just shaken up a seltzer-containing shaker and handed it to me, because that sucker is just going to explode all in the kid's face. So something else has to be going on. Typically, when bartenders want to create a nice head or nice foam on a cocktail, they will either do a dry shake before adding ice, or they will do a dry shake after adding ice. You have to add the ice, you've got to get it down to temperature, and you've got to get some dilution on there. So you've got to use ice, but ice is bad for the creation of your foam because the ice crystals will just blow apart the foam. So what do? Well, you could just stick the thing in a blender. Cheating. You could get one of those really expensive cocktail shaker machines. Yes, they make them, where you can just take 2 halves of your cocktail shaker, you put them in the machine, press go, and it will continue to shake that cocktail well nigh forever. And they will hold those 2 pieces of the cocktail tin together far stronger than you would ever be able to. What are we going to do? Well, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to go back to a fairly standard guide, which is Difford's guide. And what does Difford's do? Difford's, of course, changes because it's a modern recipe. It changes the sugar to a syrup. Yay! So we're not going to have to mess with granulated sugar or anything along those lines. It changes the cream to 3/4 of an ounce instead of just a few teaspoons. They shake with ice, they strain it back into the strainer, and then they do a dry shake afterwards. Okay, this is a very modern style of making the cocktail. Imbibe magazine changes the syrup from, ups the syrup to a full ounce instead of 3/4 of an ounce, but they drop it back down to a 1-to-1 syrup instead of a 2-to-1. I don't have 1-to-1 syrups around here. All of mine are 2-to-1. So we're going to go with 3/4 of an ounce at 2-to-1. They up the cream to 2 ounces. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and go with 2 ounces. Imbibe says, and the Imbibe recipe comes from a bartender from, I think it's the Occidental in New Orleans. So somebody, no, it's from the Sazerac bar in New Orleans. And he says, shake 50 times, strain from a height, and you want to pour the soda water and the mixture from your cocktail strainer together in a single stream into the glass. But you're going to shake 50 times, no more, no less. Okay, that sounds very specific. Other recipes call for things like doing the dry shake first, so doing like a couple of minutes of dry shake, and then putting ice in, and then continuing to shake that, but you shake that until the ice disappears, so you have to be careful how much ice you're using. When you do the wet shake ahead of time, you don't have to worry about how much ice you're using because you're going to strain it out anyway. So what are we going to do? Well, okay. The International Bartenders Association says that the way to do this is to shake it with ice, strain it back in, and then do a dry shake at the end. All right, well, let's listen to the IBA, and we're actually going to do that to start with. So, what do we need? Well, first of all, I've got all of my glasses chilling in the freezer, aside from one that's right here. So this is the first one that we're going to do. So we do need a cocktail shaker. Here is part one. Here is part two of the cocktail shaker. All right. Oh, that's the later one. We will tikify this. Believe me, we're going to tikify this cocktail. Trust me on that. All right. We want to start with our sweet, which is in the refrigerator. Simple syrup, 2-to-1, nothing fancy here. We're not using an infused syrup. Although if you wanted to do something like a blueberry syrup or something along those lines, you certainly could. It would just completely change the color of this drink, which might be cool, might not be. Half an ounce of lemon and half an ounce of lime. So we will do half an ounce, oh, a little more than half an ounce. There we go. That is half an ounce of lemon juice. Having now drunk several of these over the last couple of days, I have to admit that I do think that, particularly for this version, that the combination of lemon and lime really does make the right choice. Going with either would be just way too one note and not at all interesting in the way that we want it to be. Simple syrup, 2-to-1, nice and thick. I will add a little mouthfeel to this.
Is a full shake out and back?
It does not say. He did not say. I'm going to assume that is in fact a full shake. Is out and back is a full shake. Throwing the ice from one end to the other. Yep, and back. What is it? 1 ounce. 1 full ounce of syrup. Wait a second. No, that's wrong. We want 3/4 of an ounce. 3/4. Lemon.
Chris says, good evening. They are drinking the Raven.
The Raven?
Blackberry, lime, simple syrup,
Sounds
lime
good.
juice, Bacardi 8, and Bacardi 151 with some club soda.
Wait, you still have some Bacardi 151 left over? I don't think they're making Bacardi 151 anymore, are they? Oh. But yeah, a little 151 to kick that up. Not so bad. Not so bad. The Bacardi 8 is a lovely little good, solid Puerto Rican Cuban style rum. Yeah, like it. 3 dashes of orange blossom water. Okay, so I happen to have a little flask here of orange blossom water. And I want a little bit, just a little bit. But we're going to go with dashes here, not drops. So we're going to do that. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. 3 dashes. Do not overdo the orange blossom water. If you do, your cocktail will come out tasting like soap. Like kind of orangey, lavenderish, floral, soapy. Yuck, you don't want that. Egg white. Egg white. I have already separated out the egg whites. I didn't figure you wanted to watch me separate out egg whites, nor did you want to watch me mess up separating out egg whites and have to do it 2 or 3 times. So you don't have to watch that. So isn't that great? Okay, so that goes in there. And yes, I did them just before the show. So these guys they came out of the fridge, they got cracked, they're in the egg cups, they're fine. I need 2 ounces of heavy cream. And that's coming. Is it there?
No.
You sure? Oh. Of course it's not there. It's in my ice bin right here next to me. Thank you. I love you, my wife.
He makes me cocktails, so he gets away with stuff.
You'd think that I would have had a few by the way I'm acting here, but okay, I have, but those were earlier in the day. So, by the way, the Ramos Gin Fizz, or fizzes in general, are almost always considered breakfast cocktails. There may be another reason for that. Of course, because of the fizzy content of them, they are very much considered medicinal, or were considered medicinal. Tonic water, which I'm not going to pour in here, and I'm not going to shake the tonic water. That's not happening. Okay. But I do want to get it open. So there we go. We've got all of that in there, and that looks really gross. You've got citrus and heavy cream in there, so that's not great. Trick. I want to make as much foam in here as possible. This, it's not a slinky. Dirty, dirty minds, people. This is the spring off of a hawthorn strainer. Right, so what are we going to do? Well, we're going to use this to help get our foam. I'm just going to twist this a little bit together. A little bit together. Or, come on.
Worked earlier.
It worked earlier. Fine, it's going in like that. There we go.
You can also use the balls from...
yeah, if you have like protein drink mixes that have the little metal balls, the little squishy metal balls, you can use that as well. But if you're a bartender, you probably happen to have hawthorn strainers lying around and can do it this way. So we're going to give this a nice long shake, which means, hun, I need a timer. We're not going to do this for just 50. We're going to go ahead and give this about a 2-minute shake. But there's going to be no ice in here, so it's not going to be really clacky and loud. We're just going to start off slowly. You could, if you really wanted, yeah, there we go, it's already splitting. You could put just a little bit of the seltzer in here. It's not really going to add up to a whole lot of pressure, but, you know, as much trouble as I'm having holding this together, because it's not cold. If it were cold, the metal would be contracting and the seal would be strong, but it's not. So you're having to literally hold it shut as you are shaking, which means I should probably be holding it like this. Oh, I can feel the glass moving. Oh, that's not happy. Stop it. So we're just going to continue to shake this and vigorously shake and vigorously shake.
So is this a case where a cobbler shaker would be better?
No, because you want the longer throw. In fact, if I had a larger cocktail shaker, I would use it to get the longer throw.
1 minute.
You know, it occurs to me that what I'm doing is the version of this that is the version I was going to end up with. My preferred version of how to make the Ramos Gin Fizz. This is not the IBA's technique. The IBA's technique is to use ice to start with and then do the dry shake. So I'm going to have to do that one after this.
30 seconds left.
30 seconds left. Yay! This is why bartenders wear aprons, because this gets messy. Especially if the seal breaks. Wow! Trying to get an egg foam put together this way. Whew. Nice and warm. This is an upper body workout. So as long as I'm doing this, I should mention that while I really like this cocktail, I debated a bit about doing this for you, because here's the thing. This cocktail takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, and as a consequence, you do not want to order this at most bars. A, bartenders will hate you for it, and B, when they've got a busy night going, they simply don't have time to do this. They don't have a dozen children lined up in the... There's no gin in this. Right?
Right.
There's no gin in that. Okay, well, we're going to add the gin now. Oh, man. You know, for all those people that are tuning in for the first time, usually I'm a little better than this. This should have gone in earlier. To those that are wondering, it's like, wait, you just did 2 jiggers full. No, I filled to the 3/4 line on the 2 jiggers. So 3 times 3/4 would be 1.5. So, right. I have measured my standard ice cubes, and my standard ice cubes come out to somewhere between 45 and 55 milligrams of ice, grams. And as a consequence, that is exactly the amount of ice that I want to use. So what we're going to do now is we are going to shake this, and we are going to keep shaking this until such a time as we no longer hear ice in here. That is easier to do when you no longer have the strainer in there, because the strainer will sometimes sound like ice. I'll get rid of that. Do you begin to understand why I held off doing this drink despite the fact that I really like this drink? Yeah, there's so fiddly bits, so many fiddly bits. Okay, so we're going to do this until we no longer hear the ice going. I can hear ice. So never order this drink on a busy Friday night or a busy Thursday night, a busy Saturday afternoon or night. Never order it on a busy occasion unless it's on the menu. If it is on the menu as one of their specialty cocktails, then they obviously have got some trick up their sleeve, some portion of the dedicated staff for making these, in which case feel free, go ahead and order the thing. But generally, unless you really want to make an enemy of your bartender, do not order a Ramos Gin Fizz while it is busy. You can always, I suppose, on a light evening, order it and volunteer with your bartender to shake this for a while so he doesn't have to do all of the shaking. And you better darn well tip well when you're doing one, when you're asking him to make one of these. Okay, we're going to try to do this left-handed. Wow, that's really awkward. I've never done that before. I can still hear ice, but not much. Okay. Whew. Now we have a glass. This glass has been chilling. We are going to go with a tall, narrow Collins glass, or in our case, a juice glass. This is our typical morning juice glass. And I'm going to take just a scant, like 1/4 ounce of tonic, not tonic, club soda, and pour that in the bottom. Right there. Then give this a little more shaking. You'd be surprised how rapidly this separates. A little more shake. Okay.
Go, go, go!
Whew! I'm gonna have me some guns when we're done with this. And I'm gonna need a drink. They say pour from a height. Okay, we're gonna try. Oh, look at that.
Put your soda in at the same time?
That is, I am not going to try and pour this soda in at the same time. I'm going to do this. I'll leave just a little bit in here. Like that. And then this is not a fast drink to make. This is going to go back in the freezer. So I'll be right.
I got it.
I'm going to take this, put this in the freezer. We're only going to set this in the freezer for 2 minutes or so. That's all. In the meantime, we are going to take a little more of our tonic water. Tonic, why do I keep saying tonic? Your seltzer, your sparkling water. I'm going to go either 3/4 or a full ounce. Kind of depends on how much good stuff is still left in your shaker. Just pour that right back in the shaker. Because there's so much good stuff left in the shaker, you don't want it to go to waste. So we're going to lid this up. I know what you're saying. Seltzer water in a shaker? Pooch? I'm going to be careful. I'm going to be gentle. There we go. It's nice. See, no explosions.
Your physical therapy assistant says more balanced shaking is required in your future.
More balanced shaking, like on one leg. Like this. This. Oh, no, that would be bad. All right. Oh, did you hear that? Did you hear it go And that's with like 1 ounce of seltzer. All right. We're still not done. Construction of this drink is it's insane. It is insane to do this. Nope.
Been in there 1 minute.
Not going to use that. You can do anything you want for a garnish with this. Some people put mint. Some people do like a little orange twill or something along those lines. Which I guess we could do that for this. Got some orange here, channel knife. You got to have something to do while that is freezing up. Chatting with your bar customers, getting the 6 rum and cokes that have been waiting while you've been making that, doing something along those lines, right?
Balanced as in left and right.
Balance as in left and right. Okay. Well, so you want to do shake, 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 and then the natural inclination is to not move hand position and go shake, shake, shake. But that's really awkward. But if you have any seltzer in there or there's any back pressure, if you're doing this on a dry shake, you don't want to move your hands around too much to do that. So we'll figure it out. It'll happen. I need more rum. How's that? Classically, though, the Ramos Gin Fizz comes with no garnish. Man, this has taken forever to make this cocktail. The wife is going to go out, and she is going to bring me that glass and an empty one. And we are going to take a straw. So here's our Ramos Gin Fizz. And there's a pretty nice head on that. Just right here, just from what we've done so far. And that's pretty stable. Tap that down a couple times. I'm going to take a straw. I'm going to punch a little bit of a hole kind of in the center here. Like right there. Pull that out. And then this guy, the leftover stuff, we are going to pour in to that center. And I don't know if I've got this stable enough. I don't think so. Oh, we're just a little shy. Okay, we can come back here, add a little more of the soda water. And you should get just a little bit of a head on it coming right above that. If this is really solid, so if I left that for like 3 or 4 minutes, you can get a real nice souffle effect with the head of that coming right up off of there. The test is whether or not you can get a straw to stand up in it. I am putting myself to a heavy test because this is a Surfside Sips straw. It's not a light straw. We're going to try and just sink this in. If I've done that right, that straw will not move. There we go. We have our little twill of orange that we can just set like right in there, and then that'll knock the head off. Okay, that's quite tasty. I should point out this is the first time I've made this using the Old Tom gin. Oh, I think that makes a huge difference. Oh, that's nice. That is
bravo.
That is quite lovely. Despite the fact that I forgot to add the gin until way later in the process than I should have. We also discovered later or earlier in the day that the Gin Fizz seems to get better as it sits. I don't know what's up with that. That's like remarkably better than the ones earlier today. So
you got a clap from David.
I got a clap. Yay! I'm now taking a break because my arms are sore. Oh my god, no. Okay, so that was my preferred technique for making the Ramos Gin Fizz, assuming that I put the gin in at the right time, which clearly I did not in this case.
I will let you have some of it since you work so hard.
Okay. You want the next one?
No, I'm going to take this one in a little bit. But
Oh,
I'll
okay.
let you have
All right,
another
all right.
sip or two. Aren't I nice?
You are so nice. I love you. See how that works? Tell her that you love her, guys. It works. You have to mean it, though. You have to mean
You
it.
could take a break and show our new mug.
So I did, in fact, clean out that new mug in the hopes that I would have some time left over to make a cocktail for it, because it will not work for a gin fizz kind of thing. It would just be messy. We've been waiting for this mug
For a year.
for a year, but it is from Tiki Land Trading Company, from Tiki Tony. You can tell. See, Tiki Tony from Tiki Land Trading Company. And unless you have really fast eyes, you have no idea what this mug is. I'll give you a hint, it has ears. Uh-huh. Yeah. What do you think? Huh? It's Grogu. It's the child from the Mandalorian. It's Grogu. He is so cute. And he came with a swizzle stick that has Grogu on it. See right there. Yep, there's Grogu. Now, what does Grogu like to eat? Grogu likes to eat frogs. So there's a frog, and yes, so this just kind of sits in here, and there's a frog coming out the back end of Grogu. Is that not just the cutest thing in the world?
And, you know, just to be a pain, they're sold out.
Are they? They're sold out now? Oh. We did mention another rum that we had tried recently. This is a Haitian rum. This, I first ran into mention of this rum in an article in the Rob Report, actually. And ordinarily, I do not think of the Rob Report necessarily as being, you know, up on the latest and greatest spirits. Their specialty lies in other places, and it certainly doesn't lie in the rum category, even when it does come to spirits. But here's the thing. As I was reading through this article on the 10 best rums that you should be sipping right now, I was agreeing with 80% of the rums that they had mentioned, aside from the ones that I hadn't tasted yet. And as a consequence, when I saw that there was a chance to get my hands on this Providence Haitian Rum Blanc, distilled in a copper pot still to 57% alcohol, or bottled at 57%, I had to give it a try. And so this is the First Drops version of that. I gotta admit, this is some tasty stuff. It is not for the faint of heart. This is produced by members of the family that used to own, I don't think they still do, own Barbancourt, from the Barbancourt family. And as a consequence, it is made from sugarcane syrup and juice. So not just the sugar pressings, but also syrup from those that have been boiled down. And they use that to ferment, as opposed to using molasses like 95% of the rest of the planet. It's almost an agricole, but it can't be called an agricole because it doesn't meet all of the other regulations of where it's produced and that sort of thing that allow it to be called a rum agricole as per French guidelines. This is it's a little rough, but it's also unaged. So when you think of unaged, you kind of think, okay, well, I'm expecting this to be pretty simple, maybe not insipid, but I'm not expecting a whole lot from it. This shows that it's very young because of its heat and some of the harshness in it, but it's a complex rum, which I think is just phenomenal. So I'm dying to use this actually in some cocktails where I need that complexity, but you want a crystal clear rum for that. So that will be coming up at some point. We will see. So here we go. How many times have I said color doesn't make a difference? When a cocktail says white rum, you could use either the Maggie's Farm or the Providence if all you had to do was go off of white rum. These are completely different rums. This is going to give you some rum taste and a little bit of the alcohol, and it's a clean, simple rum. This is not. This will take over your cocktail. So color doesn't matter in terms of flavor profile or anything else, except for the fact that it is clear. And that's important in some cocktails when you want the clarity, because you don't want the brownness of the rum or the yellowness of it mucking up with the color profile you're trying to do. Okay, Ramos Gin Fizz, my preferred way, as long as I add the gin when I'm supposed to. So what we are going to try to do now is the IBA way. This is the way that the International Bartenders Association says you should do it, which is a wet shake with ice first, strain back into the shaker, and then do the dry shake. And we'll see how that works. Okay, so we need another cocktail shaker. Ta-da! We need 3/4 of an ounce of simple syrup. Right there. Okay, 3/4 of an ounce. Huh, somebody's going to have to get off their butt and make some more simple syrup at some point.
Yeah.
Simple, plain old ordinary simple syrup seems to be the syrup we go through fastest, because most cocktails that call for some sort of sugar or syrup are going to call for simple syrup. And it also has a ton of other uses. Use it to flavor coffee, for example. Lemon and lime juice. 1/2 ounce each. There is a 1/2 ounce of my lime juice. Cork that. 1/2 ounce of the lemon juice. Three to 4 dashes of my orange blossom water. Go ahead, buy yourself some orange blossom water. Buy just a small container of it. It will last you forever. That's why I transformed it into these flasks, because
Tough gun market.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's just easier. I can keep the small bottle of it that I do own under the cabinet here and just refill these test tubes periodically. I also use it for flavoring the orgeat. So I use a little more of it than most people would use, unless you're using it to make Middle Eastern or Mediterranean desserts, which call for it a lot. So once again, we have the syrup, we have the 2 sour ingredients in there. We need an egg white. Here is an egg white. I know what you're saying. Oh my gosh, he's going to forget the gin again. I am not. I'm not going to forget the gin. I've just forgotten where it is. Here is my gin. We really like Bar Hill as a gin producer, and they add a little bit of honey back into their standard gin, but this is a slightly aged, sweeter style of gin that we really like. The Tomcat is a little more expensive than their usual, but it is well worth it for making this kind of cocktail. 2 ounces heavy cream, right?
So the Providence would have worked last week when you needed an unaged rum?
What was I making that required an unaged rum? Maybe. I don't remember what the flavor profile I was looking for. Was it clean and simple? Because if so, no, the Providence would not have worked. Ice. Here for the ice, we don't care how much ice we're putting in, because we are eventually going to strain this. So a bunch of ice goes in. IBA says shake this for 2 minutes.
I got it.
You got me here? Doot, 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 doot.
No, I mean, I'll shake it.
No, I got it. Oh, we got it. We're good. So we're going to shake. If this were a Zoom call, the automatic sound reduction would take over, and you wouldn't be able to hear me speaking. You wouldn't be able to hear anything but the shaking of this. So you can practice, 3-point shaking. If I can't do, you can practice the Japanese style shaking. Yeah, it's just something. Because you want to shake this pretty hard. You can also touch this. Looking really cool! Just doing this with one hand. You got ice in here. Fill up the shaker with ice. Shake for 2 minutes. Depending on how you shake, how vigorous your shaking is, you're going to get various different forms of dilution.
All right, we're 1 minute in.
Only 1 minute in. This is where you start to look at the children that you have around the house and go, want to earn an extra buck? Turn over to this. I said it was 1 minute mark, right? So I'm going to switch hands to the other side.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. Upper body workout. Who says drinking isn't compatible with good health? Okay, every doctor everywhere.
10.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Blah. Whew. All right. Seal breaks. IBA says double strain this. Okay. Strainer 1, strainer 2. So we're going to strain right back into the same glass we just used to shake this. And this is smooth and milkshakey, but we don't really have much foam on there. So then we're going to dump the ice out. Make sure you rinse with cold water. Again, temperature is kind of key to this, keeping this cold. So this is the second one. This is IBA style. 1 minute dry shake. Oh, let's take some of the dampness off of here. Okay, here we go. Oh, turn that around. Here we go. On me, not on the computer. I was watching a video earlier today and somebody was shaking. I don't remember who it was, just one of the various people that I was watching shaking, and they were doing this.
The old guy.
Like, that's not working.
Right.
When IBA says hard shake, they mean hard shake. We get some volume going in here. At least that's the plan. So if you were at some sort of IBA competition or test, they would want you to make it this way. I'm not sure what they would do if you made it a slightly different way. Are we at 1 minute?
Yeah.
Oh, I can stop. One glass. And IBA says, just pour this in. Let me get that quick. And then top it with your sparkling water. So here we go. Whew. We definitely got more volume off of there because there's considerably more left in here than there was previously. But again, IBA says just take that, pour this in. They don't say wait or anything else.
No, put it back in the freezer.
No, put it back in the freezer. You can still get that little head off of there, but it's going to collapse and run right over. So there you go. That's your IBA style. That's kind of cool. We're going to use a metal straw this time, just because. I'm going to stick that in right here. Metal straw holds up.
Ah.
I don't know that one is necessarily easier than the other. I like putting this guy back in the freezer though. If I had not messed up with the gin previously, I probably could have gotten a good 1/4 to 1/2 inch over the edge of this glass, which would have been on the previous one, which would have been nice. Lovely. The citrus notes seem a little more pronounced there. Man, that is just luxuriously soft.
That is very silky.
Yeah. Maybe silkier than the first one I did. I'm going to chalk that up to putting the gin in too late. Yeah.
I'll leave
This is one of my favorite cocktails. Yes, I want some.
I'll take the other one. I'll be nice.
Did you finish the other one?
Yeah.
Oh. I get cheat. We are not going to do a third version of this where I try to do the soda water and mixed strain. Star likes these, but they're not her favorite cocktail, although I think she likes these better than the ones. Oh, she may be revising her opinion on how good these are.
They're better than the ones earlier today.
The ones earlier today we were using dry gin. We used Aviation. It's a good solid gin. There's nothing wrong with Aviation. It tends to be one of the standards we have around here. I was playing around with cocktails, so I didn't want to use any of the higher end gins. It just gets expensive when you're doing that, especially when there's a chance that your cocktail shaker will blow up and throw gin. And you're going, no, that's my monkey shoulder gin everywhere, right? That would be bad. So there you go. There are two ways of making the Ramos Gin Fizz. Both of those come out very nice and very silky. We had been using this style. So this is a cocktail highball, not a highball. This is a tall Collins glass. You can tell it is both taller and it is wider. And I think that also may have something to do with how well this is standing up within the cocktail. This just is a lesson to me to also measure out your cocktails and your glasses ahead of time. And when you're doing things tiki, that's even more important because let me tell you, I have no idea how much liquid goes in this guy, and it's not printed on the bottom of the mug anywhere. We can find out real quick, but with all of the different kinds of tiki mugs and different kinds of shapes and sizes to them, it's very hard to know what will fit in what mug. And so you can take something that will overflow a smaller mug, put it in one of the mugs that you really like that happen to be gargantuan in size. Hello, I'm looking at you, Mr. Jaguar. And, it'll just disappear in here. And you end up making a triple just to fill this mug. And if you've made a triple zombie and put this in here, well, that person is hopefully going to be staggering by the end of the evening, but may just be horizontal on your couch for the rest of the night. It's probably a good thing for them anyway. So that's the second one. That took 10 minutes or so. I would like to do one more cocktail for you. Although we are at an hour mark, and I wanted to try and get these a little bit shorter. We've been going like an hour and a half or so in the past. I want to try and get this a little shorter. But I do have one more egg white left. So clearly I've got to do something with that egg white, right?
Tiki-fi!
Is it time to tiki-fi a cocktail? So we are going to tiki-fi this cocktail. I don't want to mess around too much with proportions on this. But we are going to play around with what we're going to use for ingredients. So, let's see. For our typical IBA standard version of a Ramos Gin Fizz, we would be using a ½ ounce of lime and a ½ ounce of lemon. Well, forget that. We're not going to use lemon. Nope. We're tikiing this drink. And I know, yeah, we use lemon for various cocktails in tiki, but really, lime is king when it comes to tiki. So we're going to do a ½ ounce, or we're going to do a full ounce of lime. What kind of syrup should we use? Well, you could use 2-to-1 simple syrup. Wow, that's boring and not really tiki-esque. What else could we use? You could use grenadine. It would come out bright pink. That would be pretty cool. I'm really tempted to do that, but I'm not sure about the tartness of the pomegranate in the cocktail, and maybe that would overwhelm it.
You need your spice.
I want something that is sweet and brings some other note that you wouldn't expect to the party. Oh wait, how about homemade orgeat? Yeah, that would work, right? So here's, this is essentially, this isn't quite 2 to 1. This is about 1.5 to 1, but it's plenty sweet. It's going to work for us, and we're going to go with 3/4 of an ounce of orgeat. And if that works, we're going to get a nice, pleasant almondy flavor that will come through on the cocktail. You could also, I suppose, spice it up and use something like falernum. One of the things you have to be careful of with playing around with this kind of cocktail is texture. And the simple syrup has a very thick texture. The orgeat has an even thicker texture. This is a commercial falernum, and it does not have nearly the same texture. And so that might cause your Ramos Gin Fizz, except it's not Ramos and it's not gin, to come out very differently. So I've got my sour, I've got my syrup, I need orange blossom, sure, orange blossom. So I'm going to go 3 dashes, 1, 2, 3 dashes of orange blossom, but I'm not done yet. No. Because why stop there when you can also use a little rose water? Sure, why not? Be a little more floral. I'm just going to use 1 dash of this because, oh baby, this stuff, yeah, there we go. This stuff will get you into the soapy category real quick. All right, so 1 dash of that. We need 2 dashes of cream. 2 ounces of cream. I have not put the citrus in, right?
Correct, you have not.
Cream goes in, 2 ounces, and then we want to do a full ounce of lime juice. And that will neatly rinse out our jigger. It's tiki. So are we going to use gin? Oh, we're going to go with a different spirit for this. One might be tempted to think that we would go with rum. Well, you're right. We're going to go with rum. Now, I've made this cocktail exactly once before earlier, and it was quite tasty. And what we did was a mix of a Jamaican rum, brand new to me, the Dr. Bird Jamaican rum. Been looking for this stuff for quite a while. Now found it. Did an even mix of that and the Clement VSOP, which is my standard mix, a heavy Jamaican and a aged rum agricole. It's my standard mix for a Mai Tai. So I thought, we'll go ahead and go with that. I'm not sure that's what I want to do here. I don't want to go straight agricole. That would be strange and weird. So we will look over here and we will say, oh, I could go with a white overproof Jamaican rum, and oh no, God, no, that was all you would taste would be the Jamaican overproof rum. Same thing with like the Hamilton or the Lemon Heart. You use either one of those, you'd wind up in sort of the same position. Sweet gin, as opposed to dry gin. Okay, we know that the sweet gin works better. Dry, I usually associate drier rums with the Puerto Rican or Spanish style rums, the clean column still rums. I don't necessarily want all of the funk of a Jamaican rum, but I want some sweetness, so let's go with a Demerara rum. And we'll go with the Eldorado 8. We want 1.5 ounces total rum. I'm going to go a full ounce of the Eldorado 8. And I can't help myself, I'm going to go with a 1/2 ounce of a Jamaican as well. So full ounce, Eldorado 8. Eldorado 8 has become my standard Demerara mixing rum. It's a little pricier than maybe other people's standard Demerara rums. The 5 is a perfectly serviceable rum. It's quite good. So that was a full ounce. We're going to go 1/2 ounce of the Dr. Bird. So funny story, our friends Brooke and Andrea have bought some creme de cacao that comes in this bottle that has this flowery kind of label on it. Every time I see that bottle, I think, oh my gosh, where did you find the Dr. Bird? And they're like, what? I'm like, oh, it's the creme de cacao. So on our way back from the liquor store, we stopped by their place. I went, see, bottle looks similar. And they're like, oh, all right, fair enough. You're not insane, at least in this. All right, I am going to go with the way I like to make the Ramos Gin Fizz. So I am going to go with a dry shake and then a wet shake after I have a sip. So dry shake, I've got everything in there, right?
Yeah.
Spirit, sour, sweet, cream, orange blossom, egg white. Egg white. This is why we check. I know, it seems silly. I am not a trained bartender. I am not trained in the skill of talking to people while I'm mixing cocktails. And so every once in a while it happens, I forget something. You've seen that multiple times already tonight. Stay. Okay, so we're going to try this, and we are going to do a 2-minute shake, 2-minute dry shake. I'm going to start off a little light here. Sometimes I forget things. Come here. Start over. Dun, dun, dun. La, 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 la. We be shaking. We be shaking. Pooch's Rum Fizz. Oh, if you put a little green chartreuse in it and you get this kind of nasty greenish color to the foam, the Cthulhu Fizz. Ooh. Yep, it split right in the face. And
There's your timer.
there we go. Right at the timer, it decided to split and throw a little bit of foam in my face and on the counter. This is yet another reason. Notice it spit it back at me, not at the patrons, you people, or my laptop. Also good. No need to strain anything. We're going to throw in some ice cubes. Once again, exactly 3 ice cubes. 1, 2, 3. You could go back to the very earliest Gin Fizz recipe and put in some crushed ice with this as part of the weighed ice. And that would probably be a good thing. It would dilute much faster, and so you would get to the point of getting rid of that ice quicker. I just want to make sure that I can get a grip on this since it's split on me already. And then we need to shake this until the ice goes away. Can you hear the difference? If the ice is almost gone?
Yeah.
Little clinking, not much more. All right, we're gonna call that good. Okay, set that aside. Could use club soda, but why? I happen to have some San Pellegrino Momente. This is a clementine and peach sparkling water. Right? We're gonna use that. And I'm gonna catch my breath. Once again, I'm gonna go with 1/4 ounce. This has a lovely pink color to it. I don't know if it'll show up here. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, here we go. Put this in. Okay. And this can go in here. And this goes back in the freezer. So the question on this type of cocktail is always, is the taste and texture actually worth the time and effort? Well, if you're just paying somebody to do it for you at a bar, sure. As long as some of that cost of that cocktail is not having your bartender get mad at you. There's nothing that is worth getting a bartender mad at you. That's bad. Bad juju. No, no, no. You don't want to do that. But if they're willing to make you a Ramos Gin Fizz, it is absolutely worth it. And it is absolutely worth the time frame waiting around for it. Also, might get you a chance to have a conversation with your bartender about when you should order a drink like this and when you shouldn't order a drink like this. If you are coming to one of my parties and you ask me for a Ramos Gin Fizz, ask for it early in the night and ask for it when other people are not lined up for 3 or 4 other drinks. Please. I need a little of the San Pellegrino. Whew. See, can you see the pinkness of that? So I don't think we're going to get any of that pink color coming through on our fizz, but it still should be pretty lovely. Do you have a timer going, hon?
Yes.
Okay.
3 minutes?
2-3 minutes is fine. Oh, that's very nice. Okay, so this is definitely, you can see the separation here, right? You can see the head on that. Wow. This is very, very creamy, very, very frothy. Normally, I'm a little iffy on just drinking sparkling water, but after drinking most of one of these and having that creaminess coating the mouth, this straight up was just really nice. It's looking pretty good to me. It's pretty emulsified. It's not the pure white color, which is perfectly fine.
Because of the orgeat?
Probably because of the orgeat. Yep. That's the wrong thing. This is the right one. We need a straw for this, don't we? Ooh, solid blue. Again, Surfside Sips. Poke that little hole in there. Oh, that's going to be totally awful, hon. You don't want any of this. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this. Come on, baby. Work for me here. There we go. I've got a little hat on there. See that? See that? Sort of like a little mushroom hat sitting on there. That's what we want. There's a little pinkness now in that from the Pellegrino. Oh, dripping running white. And if you let this sit longer in the freezer, it'll stand up even better. So we're going to stick this in here. It's going to foam over because that's a really thick straw. Want some of that? Apparently she does. That's messy as all heck. Oh, that is not what you would call. It is certainly reminiscent in texture of the Ramos Gin Fizz. It is not at all reminiscent of the Ramos Gin Fizz in terms of flavor. Oof, messy, messy. Thank you once again, Anne, for the logo on the bar towel. That's awesome.
You're not getting any more of this.
Do you want a towel to wipe that off? No, she's just going to lick the side of the glass. Apparently she thinks that one's okay. All right. So there you go. We have tiki-fied the Ramos Gin Fizz. We've made the Ramos Gin Fizz 2 different ways with, I think, very, very little difference in terms of how they came out. So I would say do either way, whatever suits you, fits you, makes you happy. I know that having the ability to make a Ramos Gin Fizz at home now makes me very happy, because it's going to take me back to sitting around the Carousel Bar in New Orleans, and that's just going to be an extra special thing because I'm not going to get to do that for a while. So there we go. This has been the 42nd episode of Quarantiki, where we have endeavored to answer the immortal questions of life, the universe, and everything, whatever those questions might be. Apparently, they can be solved with the judicious application of
Shaky.
shaking and alcohol. If you shake it enough and it's alcoholic enough, you won't care, right? Besides, great thing about doing something like this, you're shaking off all the calories that you're going to be drinking, right? Who knew? Bravo, excellent work tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions about any of this that we can go with? We still have no form of closing for this other than to say, if you've liked this broadcast, if you like the recording, if you're coming back to it, please like the Lovecraft Cocktails page on Facebook. It's a pretty low traffic page. We talk things about rum. We post things about H.P. Lovecraft or H.P. Lovecraft mythos, related things, various spirits, kinds of postings. It's pretty low key. So yeah, that's about it. Amongst other things, the Gin Fizz is a messy drink, and we're gonna have to clean this all up because it got egg protein everywhere. So have yourself a wonderful week. For those of us in the DC area, look out your backyard. We've got snow. Yay! It actually is winter. It only took us till almost Groundhog Day to have winter. Yay. All right. Bye all. Love you. Thanks very much for tuning in.